conversations going on. We do have all of this up on YouTube, so you can review what we do going forward into the next events that we will be doing with Udin. And SL Circle next month is going to be doing a feature on VR and AR, ironically. So the entire month at Salt Lake, Access Salt Lake, we'll have lunches and talking about AR and VR. All right. Who wants to take this on first?
I'm going.
You're going?
I'm going.
Jarvis has left the building. Go.
All right, so for our big idea, which really wasn't, whatever, it's not really related to film, it is related to our film industry here in Utah and to many rural communities that we've been discussing, is the uncomfortableness with change. So in the film community, there's many departments that do what they do and they don't care about the story, right? Because if you do hair or makeup or you're running a camera, you're pulling focus or you're a grip, you're not really that intrigued by the story. You have your job. And that crosses over to each film, because each film, regardless of the story, you do your same job. But how do we teach change? How do we teach people to be comfortable in a world that's constantly changing, yet we want to stay the same? And so some of the ideas that we started just beginning to talk about is an educational platform to teach people, one, that the only sure thing in life is change. And two is to recognize it in each other when people are trying to make a difference or change or to learn something new, is the community around you has to support that change. Because if they don't, then you're just gonna fall back to who you are because it makes everybody else uncomfortable around you. So in our educational forums, we like to just have certain, I guess there'd be, I don't know what they call them, when you do stuff. Action items that make you feel that, and you have a strong support community. And I think at least in the film community I know here in Utah, is we don't really support anybody in change. We want to do kind of the same thing, and that's why we give people titles and we tell them who they are and we put them in a box and say, no, you're a focus puller. Okay, well now you can be a camera operator because you've done that for so long. But after that, you're pretty much, that's your title. Is to stop this dialogue, is to have a dialogue more open that you can move not only in the film industry from department to department, but now into AR, VR, and other platforms.
Could that be summarized as embrace change?
It could be, but what does that mean, Joel?
Embracing change means that from a collective standpoint, if you're going in a direction, you got to be able to help it go in that direction, because that embracing of change is good for the collective. But that has to be something that you buy into on your own. It can't be dictated. So you have to embrace the change.
Well, we can help people.
Change maker, baby.
Change maker.
Go for it, sir.
Excuse me. I have to cough first. Okay, but not on the mic. All right, so I tend to think in terms of goals and outcomes. What could we try and work together towards, and the conversation focusing around that. So not trying to prioritize anything, but just to share some of the concepts and ideas that we're throwing out when we're talking. One is to build up what you were talking about, which is connecting industries, connecting digital industries better, so that we can cross-collateralize and share the talent between them. Because there's so much overlap now that although there's different types of entertainment, whether it's 2 hours in passive linear entertainment versus a 12-hour interactive piece of entertainment, a lot of the skill sets and stuff going to do the same. And we haven't done a good job up to this point of really connecting all of these industries so that people know that they can move between them far more effortlessly. Right, there's opportunity there they don't even know about. Right. Thinking in terms of opportunities for distribution and showcasing local work is, a Utah digital channel, distribution channel, whether it's YouTube or creating a streaming service or using Twitch or something like that, but some type of curated channel where local creators actually have an opportunity to highlight and showcase their products without trying to go around the world looking for publishers and their distribution channels, in a way for us to showcase what's actually done here locally.
So a made in Utah channel.
Yeah, exactly.
And it could be anything that's made in Utah that's showcased here. It just happens to be led from the digital community.
That is correct. And you would probably want to curate it in some way and have some way of approvals to get things up there.
And content. You kind of have to look at it.
Right, so that have to be something like that. But at least it's an opportunity, provide an opportunity for the community as their content creators. What is an outlet? And an extension of that could be a digital download channel for video games as well. Especially now that interactive entertainment has adopted this concept of free, that certainly makes it a lot easier to distribute things.
So it's like a GitHub repository, but instead of being code, it's an example of the valid content that's being created here.
Exactly, exactly. And allows us easy ways to, you know, show it off worldwide as well. With all of the entertainment industries moving more and more, and probably video games is the last one, of moving towards this contractor model, recognizing that there is this ebb and flow of work, and not everybody's going to be an employee. So what happens when people are out of work? So instead of creating a jobs database, which Udin has started to do, we've got a lot of work to do there, but there's baby steps in existence, of creating the opposite, which is a board that allows people to highlight themselves and raise their hand and go, hey, I'm out of work, or I'm available for work, or I'm going, my contract will be done in 2 months. Here's my thing. And so us as business owners can go and look, hey, what are our available talent? So a different way for us to curate. And is Clark still here? Or do you leave?
You have to go.
To help, like one of the mentions I remember Clark mentioning at the beginning of the night, which was, hey, I have this need for talent and I can't find them. Similar to that, of being able to create a curated fund that would be there specifically for people that are between jobs or contracting. You know, maybe it's a cut rate, maybe it's a smaller return, but for other business owners, whether it's to create advertising or marketing or content or pre-production or something.
So they can always stay occupied. Even
Correct.
if they're off of their peak.
Right, it's a way to stay active, to stay relevant, and like, frankly, anyone who's in entertainment know that you're only as good as your last project, according to the rest of the world. So as long as people are staying relevant, that's good, because the worst thing that I know I've heard too many people complain about is, oh, well, you don't have a project on your resume for the last year or the last 6 months. You must not be good. So at least provides a way to keep people creating content and stuff as well. And the last thing is something I've always found interesting, because there actually are examples of this kind of working in the video game industry over time, creating a private equity fund or hedge fund run by industry experts that have access to distribution and publishing, that allows content creators to frankly pitch a project and to be able to help them realize it, both with coaching, mentoring, and looking at possible business and distribution models. This is back to what you were mentioning earlier. Hey, here's a project idea of actually starting it off on the right foot. We're thinking of it as a business and having people be able to guide it. And with enough investors in this thing and the right people running it, hey, we like your idea. Here's 10 grand. Go do another treatment of it. Here's 15 grand, do a visual target. Here's 25 grand, come up with a business case, and actually lead them along the way.
Yes.
There you go. Now, granted, they're not into video games yet, so I have to explain that.
Well, it's the basic concept of Sunday Edition. You create a model of mentors, you take a project, you take the best, and you help develop them, and you put them in the marketing, and they get made. It's been here for 20 years. It's just, how do you utilize that in and of itself?
Right,
I think
and
we
the
just
learning from that
started-
as well.
I think we just started that idea into being able to broaden it into the greater creative industry. It makes a ton of sense. You just gotta have the additional mentors, the additional
Well, yeah,
things to tie
We have to have a channel. So
The capital people go ahead and invest, go to Sundance and say, how about we take some of those projects and turn those ideas into films that will fund?
But they have to be from Utah, right? To
I
start?
like to think it's that way, but it's, you're taking advantage of that basic concept that's already here.
Yeah.
At a high level.
Cool.
Very good. It looks like you're all invested in a long night, so I'm going to pontificate for a while.
That's my word.
All right, we'll give you space. No, I'll keep it short. So, no, he's out.
Brian's gone.
Thanks, Brian. Have a good night. Tip the waitress on the way out, please. So, just some quick highlights from our conversation. We talked about how we all seem to be collectively purposefully in motion. Right? Everybody seems to be heading directions. We have this change that's always happening around us. We talked about having the right, appropriate, talented workforce, and that is a function of time as well as what's needed in that particular moment, and the who's and the why's and what's and how's and so on, right? Of every single job and every single skill set attribute, what somebody's actual aptitude is and what their experience is, what they can actually accomplish on a project. We talked a little bit about being able to bring in some cross-training so that we can transfer these skills from industry to industry or within this macro industry that we're talking about. And how do you make sure that that training is not only available, but it's relevant in the moment? And then being able to have that continuous learning so that people in any of these industries that we've talked about can stay up with the latest trends, can do what's actually going to keep them relevant and make sure that they have the right jobs. And then we talked about some additional things, but overall, it's how do we bring what industry needs and wants and what industry is capable of teaching and bring that and pair it up with what education and with what the actual workforce is needing in the moment, not just K through 12 or through university and college, but throughout your entire career. How do you be successful? So.
Awesome.
Since I'm a lawyer, I should be prepared for a long discussion. No, ours was really having to do with cross-pollination. I think it's a good point you talked about Sundance Institute having that model. One of the questions that the folks at our table had was, how do people know that Sundance has that model? How do people understand or know what resources might be available? Clark and I were talking about funding resources for various startups and groups that might have a product they would like to take to market. And the funding resources might be different if you are looking for seed funding versus mezzanine finance versus a different type of debt structure or an additional capital round. And even before you get to that, someone mentioned that when you have started a business or worked on a business, your understanding of what the resources you need might be is very different than if you have an idea and you have never engaged in an entrepreneurial endeavor. And so having some type of mechanism, whether it's a centralized repository or a platform where people, kind of like a Quora, but which would be location-based for Utah, and being able to facilitate discussions between folks who have been through the founding or founders process, and folks who are starting to go through that, for folks who are in the funding arena and are either institutional lenders or private equity groups or venture capital groups, angel groups, and place where they can all collaborate, whether it's because they are looking for another opportunity or they're looking to extend their opportunities here in Utah, or because they have a product and they need seed money and they don't really know what their resources are, whether it's STEM or whether it's GoEd or whether it's Silicon Slopes or Mountain West Capital Network or Beehive Startups. Understanding what those available resources are and potentially having the various networking organizations around the state validate that platform so that folks can not only go and know that the feedback or the information they're getting on that platform is worthy and not fake news, but also being able to create that environment where they can actually be educated. And because those disparate networking organizations have bought into it, they are providing their up-to-date resource catalog so that people actually have access to the information they need rather than just scouring Google and trying to kind of fumble their way through.
Wow.
Good information.
So going into next month and following on what we have here, Linda filmed this all on YouTube tonight. And we'll make sure that this goes into your comments as well. But the continuation of the momentum that acknowledged some tough things at the 1st of December that wasn't always discussed is my takeaway from this. That you've got to keep momentum. You've got to be able to keep going forward. But the buzzword in my head is education, collaboration, and how you can cross-pollinate and from that create something monetizable that didn't exist before. And I see that there's precedent in certain things and we'll be heading in that direction. Brian, you had one last thing?
Yeah, in trying to form this organization, Utah Center for Digital Arts, one of the things I think that could be really key would be to get group of us that we start feeling an idea could yield results to create a series of commitments to a group concept that would engender the growth of that concept beyond the original group of the people that get involved. Things you can do to give back to your community, things you can do that you feel good about in this community building, but working on this concept of these ideas that bring us together, that get us to collaborate, so that we have a mission statement that people understand enough to be able to communicate to other people that it's a good message for everybody. It can grow things, it can help educate people, it can interconnect ideas, it can deal with the downside of change in business. That we have a support group that can support each other because we understand what we all feel that brings us together. So the more that we can begin to develop this community through ideas and commitments to one another, and this concept, I think could be the real foundation for something more to come out of this than just a temporary group of ideas and relationships. I think that this community could grow well beyond that because we have a core group of principles that drives us that we really understand deep down in the core because it makes sense to us. We've talked enough about people, and that it spreads from a group of people that forward thinkers and people that want to commit to a group concept, which is the kind of thing that brings us together tonight. I mean, there's a certain number of us that are still here at this hour because something is there, and we feel a compelling reason to stick around and to continue to discuss it. So I'm hoping that that's what we start to see out of this core group of people that have been through the initial conference and that start becoming part of these meetings, that we realize that there's a lot of reasons for us to be here, and we can each find our own within the context of that. But if we start making commitments to each other to do things physically and to pursue some of these ideas, I think there could be some really incredible results out of this.
Well, I can't pontificate anymore because that was beautifully said. On behalf of Edsel Circle, the sponsor of this collaborative effort with the circle that is UDIN and the creative community, the next steps, of course, are to be able to carry on with those measurable results and meet more often and get back together next month. Obviously, there needs to be a scribe that puts this together. We'll use the digital version of what we have here to be able to make sure that with John, we have something there. And we're going to have to adjourn because I have to be out of here by 9 o'clock. But for those of you that stuck around, thank you very much. And I know myself, I'd love to be able to figure out a way to continue to participate because the goals that have been discussed here from a rural employment standpoint selfishly will help us with what we're doing. And so working towards something that can be collaborative in that matter would be my own selfish means to be able to go forward with the collective. So everybody, thanks for coming. Appreciate it.